All right, so today I'm going to go over the answers to some of the documents that we looked at over the last couple days. So the first one is the background essay. This is from 315. So I have the answers highlighted here. I'm just going to talk through them. And then if you don't have these answers, or if you like the way I wrote them, please make sure you fill in the information that you need. Okay, so question one, what does the First Amendment say about free speech? What do these words mean to you? Question one, the First Amendment says that Congress cannot make a law that limits freedom of speech. That means your freedom of speech is protected by the Constitution in the United States. Number two, why was the case of Gitlow versus New York important? How does it apply to the question, when should schools be able to limit students' online speech? The answer, Gitlow versus New York explained that freedom of speech was also protected in lower levels of the government. This applies to schools limiting online speech because if a student talks about school in any way, then this ruling applies because a school is a form of local government. So you need to be careful about what you are posting. Why was the case of Tinker versus Des Moines Independent School District important? How does it apply to the question of when schools should be able to limit students' online speech? The answer, in Tinker versus Des Moines, the court ruled that students have freedom of speech in school unless it is disruptive, which means it takes attention away from students' learning. This applies to schools limiting online speech because it explains that students still have freedom of speech until it creates a problem in school. Number four, why was the case of Morse versus Frederick important? How does it apply to the question of when schools should be able to limit students' online speech? The answer, Morse versus Frederick ruled that schools can punish free speech at school events, even if it is off school property. This applies to limiting students' online speech because if students are posting pictures or videos at a school event, then all of their posts can be monitored and a student can be punished if they are posting something inappropriate to school. Number five, why are school officials concerned about students' online speech, even when it occurs outside of school hours and off school property? School officials are concerned about students' online speech because it is their job to make sure students are learning in school. Sometimes, because of cyberbullying, school can be disrupted or a student could be in danger, and it is the school's responsibility to protect their students and their education. Now, I did not look these up online. I just made shorter definitions sort of based on the reading and kind of what I know these words to mean. So if you'd like a shorter definition, feel free to write these down. I'm going to define these terms. Cyberbullying, this is bullying behavior that happens online, usually through social media. Disrupting, this is pulling attention away from something that is supposed to be completed. So if your education is disrupted, you're supposed to be learning, something is pulling you away from that. The First Amendment, this is a right in the Constitution. It covers many basic rights that have information around speech and also assembly, which means people gathering together. Freedom of speech, this is the right to be able to say what you want up to a point. All right, so all of that is for the background essay. The next one we're going to look at right now is document A. Document A was this chart that was here. If you look at the chart, it has all of the information underneath each section to sort of show what it's talking about. Like the first one says, I have been cyberbullied over a lifetime. For males, this is the darker line, and for females, this is the lighter colored line. These numbers at the top, these have to do with the percent. So you're going to see that I wrote down percentages. If you did not write down the little percent symbol, you need to make sure you do that. According to this graph, who is more likely to be a victim of cyberbullying, boys or girls? How big is the gender difference? Girls are more likely to be cyberbullied. They are 8.5% more likely to be cyberbullied. I got that number from this point in the chart, from these two numbers. According to this graph, who is more likely to be cyberbullied, boys or girls? How big is the gender difference? Girls are more likely to be cyberbullied. They are 3.8% more likely to be cyberbully someone. I got that number from right here. I have cyberbullied others in my lifetime. Number three, this one was kind of complicated, so there's like 4 points to this question. What percentage of students reported being cyberbullied in the past 30 days? Average number for boys and girls. That is 14.5%. 14.5% of students are bullied in the last 30 days. I got that number by adding these two together. And then the next question is, if that percentage holds true for your school, how many students have been cyberbullied at your school in the past 30 days? Well, in our school, there are about 330 students in the 8th grade, which would mean about 50 students would have been bullied in the last 30 days, cyberbullied in the last 30 days. Now, I didn't answer this question. You needed to make sure you answer it. Does that number surprise you? Why or why not? Next one. How can you use this document to argue for schools limiting students' online speech? This document shows that a lot of students are using social media to bully each other. Schools need to address all bullying issues to keep students safe and to provide an uninterrupted education. The next question is, how can you use this document to argue against schools limiting students' online speech? So this is my answer. If you had something different, that's probably okay. This is the one that I think sort of makes sense. If you're going to punish the students who are bullying other students online, this chart shows that there's going to be a lot of disruption in the bully's education. So the person who's doing the bullying, if they get suspended, there's a lot of kids who are going to get suspended. So that disrupts that education. Bullying is also being done at home, and it is being done on personal social media sites. None of this is actually happening within school. So that might be an argument that you could use for not having schools limit students' online speech. All right, the last one we're going to look at is B and C in this video. This is document B. You need to make sure you are reading the headings. This is a survey of British school teachers. So this is only about teachers and the experience they have with cyberbullying. What does a perpetrator mean? A perpetrator is someone who hurts another person. In this chart, the perpetrator is a cyberbully. Who were the common perpetrators reported in the survey? The common perpetrators were either a pupil, which is basically a student, that's what that means. Another way of saying pupil is student. Or the teachers were not really sure who was even attacking them online. I got that information from here, this part of the chart. What percentage of teachers surveyed have been cyberbullied in some way? 15.1% of all teachers surveyed were cyberbullied. So that is up here. That is where I got the information from. What was the most common negative effect of this bullying on teachers surveyed? The two most common negative effects were either had no effect at all, or it reduced their confidence and self-esteem. I got that information from right here in the chart. What percentage of teachers said their home lives had been negatively affected by cyberbullying? I looked back at this chart. This part says affected your home life. So I wrote down 19% of teachers said that their home lives had been negatively affected. How can you use this document to argue for schools limiting students' online speech? This document shows that teachers are also being cyberbullied by students. If a teacher is being cyberbullied, that will disrupt the education of many students in their class, and it could disrupt many other elements of school that a particular teacher is involved in. So if you have a teacher who is running clubs or is doing school dances or is doing the yearbook, and if their lives are really disrupted by this, they might not be able to do any of that other stuff that's being done in the school. So it's not just going to hurt their class, it could hurt other elements of the school. All right, document C. Who is KK? KK is a 12th grade student at Musselman High School. That information came from up here in the note. Do KK's actions count as cyberbullying? Explain. Yes, her actions count as cyberbullying. The school explained that her MySpace posts violate the school policy against harassment, bullying, and intimidation. So we know that she's cyberbullying because the school concluded that. That information is right here. What was the school's reaction to the cyberbullying? The school decided to suspend her for 10 days and also gave her a social suspension for 90 days. So 90 days is half of a school year. She's not allowed to do anything school-related. That might be like fun social stuff, like school dances or anything for 90 days. Does this document support limiting or not limiting student online speech? Explain. This document supports limiting student online speech. KK was punished for cyberbullying a student in school because she then invited 24 other students to support her statement. So the stuff that she said on MySpace, 24 students joined that club. A student who was bullied was supported because the actions of KK were creating a problem within KK and SN, that's the victim, school day. So the student who was bullied, which is SN, the school decided to support that student by punishing KK because KK was cyberbullying her. So even though this happened on a personal website and at home, that student needed to be punished because it was affecting everybody's school day, because there's 24 other students as well who were involved in this. So really that's 26 total students who were involved in this issue. All right, Hopefully that was helpful. Please make sure you change any of your answers. You can go back through the video as much as you want. Make sure you get everything you need.